It was 2003, inside a county facility in Texas. A place built on routine, built on order, built on the belief that everyone inside was exactly who they appeared to be. That belief would be its biggest weakness. At the center of it all was Timothy Vail. Not the most famous inmate. Not the most dangerous looking. But maybe the most underestimated. Vail didn't stand out. He didn't cause trouble. Didn't attract attention. Didn't give guards a reason to watch him too closely. And that's exactly what made him dangerous. Because in a place where everyone expects chaos, calm becomes invisible. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And during that time, Vail did something most inmates don't do. He studied. Not books. Not cases. The system. He watched how guards moved. How visitors were processed. How inmates were transferred. Every small detail mattered. Who checked IDs? Who didn't? Who paid attention? Who rushed? Because somewhere in all that routine, there was a gap, and Vail was determined to find it. The plan didn't start big. It started with a question. What if I don't try to escape as me? What if he didn't run? Didn't break out? Didn't fight? What if he simply walked out? But not as an inmate. As someone else. The idea became a plan. A disguise. Not just clothing. Not just appearance. An identity. Because to fool the system, you don't just change how you look. You change how you're seen. Vail needed to become someone no one would question. Someone ordinary. Someone expected. Someone invisible. One group moved through the jail with less scrutiny than others. Visitors. They came in, spent time, and then they left. No one stopped them on the way out the same way they watched inmates. Because visitors weren't supposed to be a threat. And that was the opportunity. Vail didn't rush. He planned. Carefully. He needed the right look. The right timing. The right moment. Because one mistake would end everything. Then came the most unexpected part. The disguise. Not as a guard. Not as staff. But as a woman. Clothing. Hair. Movement. Everything had to be convincing. Not perfect. Just believable. Because people don't look closely at what they think they already understand. The jail moved like it always did. Routine. Predictable. Calm. No one knew that something different was about to happen. Because the plan didn't look like an escape. It looked like a normal day. Right here, this is where the tension builds. Because the most dangerous plans don't look dangerous at all. They blend in. Disappear. Hide in plain sight. If you're already feeling the suspense, the quiet intensity of what's about to happen, stay with it. Because the next moments change everything. Vail made his move. Dressed in disguise. Calm. Controlled. He didn't run. Didn't rush. He walked. Through the facility. Past guards. Past checkpoints. Every step. A test. Every glance. A risk. A guard looked. Paused. For a second. It felt like everything might fall apart. But then, the guard looked away. And just like that, the plan worked. Step by step, Vail moved closer to the exit. Closer to freedom. Closer to the impossible becoming real. Then, the final door. The last barrier. And with one simple motion, he walked through it. No alarms. No resistance. Just open space. He was out. Gone. No longer an inmate. Just another person. Walking away. Inside the jail. Everything seemed normal. Until someone noticed something was off. A count didn't match. A name didn't answer. Then, the realization. He was gone. Confusion, panic, disbelief. How does someone escape like that? No broken locks. No forced exits. Just gone. But here's the twist. Escaping was only the beginning. Because staying free, that's a completely different challenge. And in the next chapter, you'll see how the world outside isn't as easy to fool as a jail routine. Because someone, somewhere, started to notice. And once the system wakes up, it doesn't stop. For a brief moment, it worked. Timothy Vail had done something almost unbelievable. He didn't break out. He didn't fight his way free. He walked out of a jail in Texas, and no one stopped him. But here's the truth about escapes. Getting out is only half the story. Staying free, that's where everything falls apart. The moment Vail stepped beyond the final door, the world felt different. Open, wide, uncontrolled, but also dangerous. Because inside the jail, he knew the system. He understood it. He had studied it. Out here, everything was unpredictable. Cars moved fast. People watched. Police existed everywhere. Freedom wasn't calm. It was pressure. At first, the disguise still worked. No one questioned him. No one stopped him. Because to everyone else, he was just another person going about their day. And that's what made the plan so powerful. Not strength. Not speed. But invisibility. Vail knew he had one advantage. Time. A small window before the jail realized what had happened. Before alarms. Before search teams. Before the system woke up. And he used it. Moving quickly. Changing direction. Putting distance between himself and the jail. Because distance buys time. And time buys options. But inside the facility, the illusion didn't last. A routine check. A missing response. Then confusion. Then realization. And then panic. The alarm didn't start with a siren. It started with a question. Where is he? And when no one had an answer, everything changed. Doors locked. Counts repeated. Guards rushed. Then the truth hit. Timothy Vail was gone. Within minutes, the outside world was alerted. Police units mobilized. Descriptions were sent out. Roads were watched. But there was a problem. The description didn't match what people had seen. Because Vail wasn't walking around as himself. He was still hidden. Still disguised. Still ahead. Right here, this is where everything shifts again. Because now it's not just about the escape. It's about the chase. The pressure. The race against time. If you're feeling the tension rising, like everything is starting to close in, stay with it. Because what comes next changes everything. No disguise lasts forever. No plan is perfect. And small things, very small things, start to matter. A look that lasts too long. A movement that feels off. A detail that doesn't match. Because people might not notice everything. But they notice enough. Somewhere along the line, something didn't feel right. A person, a glance, a moment. And that's all it takes. Because once suspicion starts, it spreads. The more time passed, the stronger the response became. More officers. More awareness. More pressure. The advantage Vail had at the start was fading. Fast. Out here, there were no walls. No locked doors. But there were limits. Every move became harder. Every decision more risky. Because now, he wasn't invisible anymore. He was being looked for. And then, it happened. A moment. A mistake. Something small. But enough. Because in escapes like this, it's never the big things that get you caught. It's the little ones. Because in the next chapter, the chase reaches its peak, the moment where everything comes together, and the question finally gets answered. How long can someone stay free when the entire system is looking for them? Because for Timothy Vail, the answer was closer than he thought. At the beginning, it felt like control. Every step Timothy Vail took after walking out of that jail in Texas felt calculated, planned, precise. But freedom changes things. It introduces pressure, uncertainty, mistakes, and slowly, that control starts to slip. At first, the disguise worked perfectly. People didn't question, didn't stare, didn't stop him. But time changes perception. The longer you stay in one identity, the harder it is to maintain it. Small details begin to stand out. The way you walk, the way you react, the way you move under pressure. And that's where the cracks began. It didn't happen loudly. No sirens. No confrontation. Just a moment. A look that lasted a little too long. Someone noticing something that didn't quite fit. Not enough to act, but enough to remember. Meanwhile, authorities weren't slowing down. They were getting sharper. Descriptions improved. Search areas expanded. Communication spread faster. And slowly, the gap closed. Because every minute Vail stayed out increased the chances of being seen. Right here, this is where everything becomes real. Because escaping is exciting. It feels like a victory. But this part, this is the reality. The pressure, the fear, the feeling that every step might be your last. If you can feel that tension building, that sense that something is about to go wrong, stay with it. Because this is where everything changes. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't obvious. It was small. A decision. A movement. A moment of being just a little too comfortable. And that's all it took. Because once the system is looking for you, it doesn't need much. Just one detail. One confirmation. And suddenly, you're no longer invisible. Someone saw him. Really saw him. Not the disguise. Not the appearance. But the person underneath. And that moment changed everything. Once recognition happens, the response is fast. Information moves. Calls are made. Units are alerted. And just like that, the chase becomes focused. No longer wide. No longer uncertain. Now, it has a target. For Vail, things started to feel different. The air, the movement, the sense of being watched. Because even if you don't see it, you can feel it. That pressure, that shift, the moment where you realize, this might be the end. It didn't happen in chaos. It didn't happen with a dramatic chase. It happened quietly. A stop, a question, and then, recognition. There was no way out this time. No disguise to hide behind. No system to outsmart. Just reality. Timothy Vail was taken back into custody. The escape was over. But here's the final twist. The capture wasn't the end of the story. Because now come the consequences. The questions. The investigation. How did it happen? Who missed it? What failed? And in the final chapter, you'll see how one simple disguise shook an entire system. And why stories like this never truly disappear. The escape was over. But the story, that was just beginning. When Timothy Vail was brought back into custody in Texas, there were no celebrations. No relief. Only questions. Because what had just happened shouldn't have been possible. Back at the facility, everything felt different. Same walls. Same doors. Same guards. But now, there was doubt. Because a system that believed it was secure had been quietly defeated. Not with force, not with violence, but with a disguise. Officials moved fast. Reports were written. Interviews conducted. Footage reviewed. Every detail mattered. Who was on duty? Who checked the exits? Who saw him? And more importantly, who didn't? Some guards remembered seeing someone. A woman leaving. Normal. Unremarkable. Nothing unusual. Until now. Because that woman wasn't a visitor. It was Timothy Vail. And that realization hit hard. The escape exposed something deeper. Not just a mistake, but a weakness. Routine had become predictable. Checks had become automatic. And assumptions had replaced attention. Because no one expected an inmate to walk out like that. Right here, this is where the story shifts one final time. Because this isn't just about one man anymore. It's about systems, human behavior, and the way small details can be overlooked. If you've followed this journey, from the disguise to the capture, you can see it clearly now. The escape wasn't about strength. It was about perception. After the investigation, changes had to be made. Procedures tightened. Checks increased. Awareness improved. Because something like this couldn't be allowed to happen again. Every guard, every officer, every part of the system was forced to rethink how they worked. For Timothy Vail, the escape didn't lead to freedom. It led back to the same place, but with more attention, more security, more consequences. Because once you've exposed a system, that system doesn't forget you. In the end, this wasn't the most violent escape. It wasn't the fastest. It wasn't the loudest. But it was one of the most unexpected, because it showed something simple and powerful, that sometimes the easiest way out isn't through force. It's through being overlooked. Escapes like this don't just disappear. They become lessons, warnings, stories that get told again and again, because they remind us of something important, that systems are built by people, and people can miss things, even the obvious ones. And that's how Timothy Vail walked out of a jail without anyone stopping him, not because he was the strongest, but because, for a moment, no one was really looking.